Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maxmilliant Gunawan, and I am about to tackle a very controversial topic: abortion. It has for a long time been a massive bone of contention in many different societies. Should the woman's right to choose to bear her pregnancy or not be protected, or should the woman's fetus be protected? Many say we must commit to one side over the other, but I believe that it is possible to come to a solution that both sides can agree upon. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that abortions are done due to many different and nuanced reasons, but for the sake of time and this argument, I've sorted them into general categories of 3 reasons why someone would want to have an abortion. The first being that the child was conceived by 2 partners, both consenting to the act of sexual congress without proper protection, that were either unaware of or dismissive of the consequences of sex. And when the pregnancy is underway, they find that they are unable to bear the burden of birth and or the raising of the child. The second being that the child was conceived due to an act of sexual assault or rape in any shape or form. Finally, the third reason is that the birth of the child endangers the parent, the child, or both. I believe that the line on when it is appropriate for a woman to be allowed to choose has to be drawn somewhere, and draw it I will. First, it must be noted that in the case of rape, under no circumstance should the woman be denied the choice of terminating the fetus. It should go without saying that experiencing rape and sexual assault brings many long-term consequences. Even without accounting for potential pregnancy and potential STDs contracted, rape victims will have to undergo various mental problems after the incident. They will undergo shock from the incident, and then they must deal with the PTSD from said incident, which can express itself in many different forms: nightmares, flashbacks, or intense fears, to name a few. These potentially lifelong mental problems are exacerbated by the dangerous process of victim blaming, wherein someone says, implies, or treats the victim of rape as if it was their own fault. By claiming that the woman should have been stronger, or shouldn't have been so drunk, or shouldn't have dressed like that, they make it easier for the perpetrator of the rape to get off relatively scot-free, and to some, justify their hardline beliefs that no matter what, women should not be allowed to have an abortion. Ergo, we should allow the woman, for it was her body that was violated and her choice on how to recover. Then there is the issue of newborn and maternal mortality. When the probability of the mother's death in childbirth passes a certain threshold, then the woman must be allowed to choose whether or not they want to risk childbirth. Specifically, when the chance of survival is lower than 60%, then the option of an abortion should be presented to the parent. Forcing the parent to undergo the pregnancy when the death risk is high will, of course, lead to a higher probability of maternal mortality. Even worse, should the infant survive the childbirth, but not the mother, the lack of nutritional support from the mother via breastfeeding could endanger the infant's life from malnutrition or increase the risk of contracting fatal diseases or fatal infections. Finally, the termination of the fetus that was conceived by 2 partners that both consented to sex is a pitiful and easily preventable death of a human being. In performing sexual intercourse without contraceptives, I believe that the 2 consenting partners have made a conscious choice, albeit perhaps an ill-informed one, to perform a said act without proper protections. The partners could have and should have understood the consequences of sex and pregnancy, and should have used contraceptives to prevent the fetus from being conceived and prevent unwanted pregnancy in the first place, thus preventing the unnecessary death of a fetus. Consequently, I believe that in order to prevent unwanted pregnancies between consenting partners, we must increase the prevalence and comprehensiveness of sex ed, as well as make it easier to access contraceptives. I am fully aware of the fact that some people may be irked with the proposition of allowing a taboo subject to be spread, such as topics on rape and abortion. But if we are to ensure that people are able to make a conscious, informed choice regarding sex, and if they choose to do so knowing the risk, they can easily access contraceptives such as condoms and oral contraceptives, or using methods such as the rhythm method. In summary, I believe that the option of an abortion should be given to the woman if the child was conceived as a result of rape, or the childbirth has a chance of survival under 60%, which endangers both the mother and the child. Otherwise, in situations where the abortion is required due to the fact that a fetus, which was conceived through mutually consensual sexual intercourse, the termination of the fetus is an easily avoidable and, if I may speak my mind, waste of human life. Ergo, to prevent situations like this from happening, we must increase the quality and prevalence of sex ed and make it easier to access contraceptives so people are able to make informed decisions about sexual intercourse and can access necessary contraceptives when needed. Thus, we have come to a solution wherein both sides, pro-life and pro-choice, can hopefully come to a compromise, wherein the right of the woman to choose if she wants to have an abortion or not is protected and the preventable wasteful termination of a fetus can be prevented. Thus ends this speech, and with it, I hope that more people are able to make conscious, rational decisions regarding sex.